You guys wouldn't know what this is, but basically, I'll explain. Back in the year 1942, the cassette player was invented, which is what this thing right here is. There's a little flap that opens up where you put the tape. A cassette tape is this little thing that looks like what you used to get from Blockbuster. They had square boxes at the Blockbuster. A Blockbuster was a store that you could rent videos at, movies. You could rent movies at the Blockbuster. Blockbuster was where you it's like Netflix but in real life. It's like if Netflix was in real life. You had to go to the Blockbuster to get them. You had to go to the Blockbuster to get movies, and they gave you a real one. And you had to go home and you had to put it in your movie player. Your movie player is a thing that attaches to your television, and you put a disc or a tape in it, and then you play it on the television. But if it's Blu-ray, you have to have a PlayStation, or you have to have a Blu-ray DVD player. A DVD is like a disc. It's a circle, and it has a hole in the middle of it. It's a circle with a hole in the middle of it. But a DVD it's like a CD. A CD is what you would go to buy at the Best Buy. You would go to the Best Buy and you would buy an album. Not like an album that you buy digitally when you get a t-shirt from the creator. Okay? It's like Spotify, but it's yours forever and you don't pay monthly for it. And also you get it physically and it doesn't come with a t-shirt. And so you go to the Best Buy and you buy a CD. It's the same thing as a DVD, but it's for music. And you have to put it either in a CD player in the car, or some computers or laptops used to come with a CD drive. And in your CD drive, you put the CD in there, and computers used to have those. Computers used to have CD drives because you used to the drivers that you download to make your printer work, you used to have to get the CD and put it in the CD drive in your computer. And then, before a CD, you used to have to use a floppy disk. A floppy disk, unlike the name suggests, is actually a very rigid piece of plastic that holds information on it. It can hold things like the original Sims game. It can hold things like your grandmother's nudes. It can hold things like printer information. The CD is inside of the floppy disk.
You're listening to NPR.
And a floppy disk has to go in the computer, and it has a floppy disk receptacle. It is not like a cassette tape, or it is also not like a VHS tape, which is the one that you get at Blockbuster. It's different because it's thin and kind of flat, and you put it into the computer. So the floppy disk is the original CD. And also so is a tape cassette that you put into a cassette player. And so a cassette player and a VHS tape have respectively the cassette tape has music on it, and the VHS has a movie on it. It stands for Vehicular Homicide Investigation, and also it has movies on it, and you can get things like Bambi or The Little Mermaid on it. And so the one is I don't know what a UMD is. And so when you take a VHS and you get it at the Blockbuster, it has a movie on it. But if you go Best Buy doesn't have cassette tapes, they only have CDs. If you get a cassette tape with music on it, then both of them, a VHS and a cassette tape, have small ribbons inside of them. And what they used to do was back in the day, children worked in factories and they had to make little miniature ribbons, and they had to sew the ribbons and also whisper the music into them, and they put it inside of the cassette tape. And so the small whispered children's music ribbons inside of the cassette tapes would then be played in a cassette player and played for everyone to hear. They had to find lots of very talented children. They had to do America's Got Talent, but it was for finding small children to work in a factory and for them to replicate the music perfectly. Like Michael Jackson. They had to find a very tiny Michael Jackson and make them work in the factory, and they had to whisper into the ribbons, and then they had to put it in the cassette tape so that you could listen to your favorite tunes. And if you wanted to make a mixtape is like a physical playlist, but you put it on a tape instead. And if you wanted to get one of those, you had to get a bunch of small factory working children in a room, and they all had to whisper into the ribbons themselves. And you had to pick each child that was good at a specific thing. And you could seduce women with mixtapes by saying, I made you a mixtape, this made me think of you. And it would have things on it like Candle in the Wind, or Michael Bublé. I think he's popular with the women. And so basically, if you had, that's what this thing is right here. And if you had a VHS tape, they had to take small factory children and they had to put them in a room, and all of them would put their brains together and use their tilapia to communicate images to each other, and they would hold hands and chant, and there would be candles around them in a circle, and their brains would tilapia burn the images onto a ribbon, which would then be inserted into a VHS, which would then be put into a plastic casing and then would be rented at the local Blockbuster. Are you educated? Do I need to tell you how genes work again?